Here's a build to try, the Team Player. Payday 2 is a cooperative game at its core, expecting team cooperation and cohesion to succeed. This is why many players take skills such as Inspire to keep your teammates alive to the end of the heist. However, there are other factors to succeeding a heist and being a good team player. Obviously, the longer a heist takes, the more likely things can go south. Many heists can be sped up with specific equipment or skill investment. And finally, a good team player will do what they can to earn the most money for everyone. It is payday after all, and unless you're playing Crime Spree, you'll want to get as much money from the heist as you can. Everyone will appreciate that. So, I've taken all of the elements that make for a good crew and crammed them all together into a single build. Let's check out my skill points. In Mastermind, under Medic, I get Basic Combat Medic and then Ace Painkillers, Combat Doctor, and Inspire. This was to be expected. Inspire is the quintessential team player skill after all. Painkillers improves upon this further, and Doctor Bags are crucial to succeeding on any loud heist. I talked all about that in another video, which you can check out by clicking the button up in the corner. Sticking around in Mastermind, I'm going to ace Forced Friendship in the Controller branch. Hostages are always useful for delaying police assaults and rescuing teammates from imprisonment. The aced effect is complementary to other features of this build, which I'll touch on momentarily. And lastly for Mastermind is the basic stable shot skill in Sharpshooter. This is just because I'll have the point to spare regardless. Now, this may seem a bit strange, but in Enforcer under Shotgunner, I'm going to ace Underdog. While on the surface this may seem a bit selfish in a build all about the team, it will make sense later on, trust me. Still in Enforcer under Tank, I'm going to ace Resilience and Transporter, get basic Shock and Awe and Bullseye, and ace Iron Man. This is all fairly standard in terms of armor builds, and while I did do research into skipping out on Iron Man armor to invest more points in team-based skills, I just kept dying as a result. Constantly needing to be revived goes against the idea of being a team player. Lastly for Enforcer, under Ammo Specialist, I get basic Scavenger and then ace Portable Saw. The Saw is well known for speeding up heists and securing more loot for the crew, and is a welcome tool for any heister looking to help his or her team out. Moving on to Technician, in the Engineer branch, I'm going to spend the minimal amount of points I can to get Jack of all trades. More equipment for the crew is never a bad thing. I'll touch more on how best to use this skill in a bit. Now, in Breacher, I'm going to ace Hardware Expert, Drill Sergeant, and more firepower, and get basic Kickstarter. Drill skills are a great way to speed up almost every heist in the game. While Shape Charges aren't quite as useful as you may think, they're nowhere close to useless either. More on that later. And before leaving Technician, I'm going to get basic Steady Grip in Oppressor. Again, I have the point to spare, and besides, I can't be useful to my team if my weapons are complete garbage, right? I'll be concluding my skill points in Ghost, starting with Aced Chameleon and Sixth Sense under Shinobi. While this particular branch is more commonly associated with stealth rather than loud, 30% bonus spending cash and the ability to unlock Expert Driver are both excellent additions to a loud experience. Finally, under Artful Dodger, I get basic Duck and Cover and Parkour. I can't help my team out if it takes me too long to reach them, so movement speed skills are a must. Now, for my perk deck, I'll be using Crew Chief. I was surprised to find how good Crew Chief was during my testing, at keeping both myself and my crew alive. When I have this perk equipped, my teammates gain 50% more stamina, 10% more health, and 8% damage resistance. Another 8% is added on top of that when a hostage is present, along with 6% more health and 12% more stamina per hostage up to 4. This is why I aced Forced Friendship, since I'll want as many hostages as I can get anyways. While I considered trying to find the points to get Jokers, it turns out Jokered cops don't actually count towards the effects of aced Forced Friendship, and they were too expensive regardless. Crew Chief is also why I aced Underdog. It turns out that at the time of this video's release, any perk deck effects that require you to be within range of enemies to trigger will not function at all if you do not have at least basic Underdog. This includes perks like Infiltrator, Sociopath, and Crew Chief. Thanks to Frank Elstner for letting me know about this. If this bug is ever fixed, I'll be sure to make mention of it in the description. Let's move on to this build's weaponry. For the Primary, I'd recommend any assault rifle with competent statistics. Since this build does not include much in the way of weapon skills, this may be rather difficult without ownership of Payday 2 Ultimate Edition. For players under that circumstance, I have a video about great weapons that do not require DLC, which you can check out up in the corner. For the sake of this video, I'll be using the UAR modded as such, the long barrel, the stubby compensator or competitor's compensator if you own the Gauge mod courier pack, an accuracy boost or team boost if you feel like going the extra mile, the A3 tactical foregrip, the LED combo, the Raptor polymer body, the speed pull mag if you happen to own the Gauge Spec Ops pack, and a sight of choice. The UAR is a reliable assault rifle regardless of skill or DLC investment. Again, you could use any similar rifle in its place and be fine. The AK-17 is a favorite of mine, but every player's preference and DLC roster is different. For my secondary, I'll want to have a saw for sure, modded with a team boost, the fast motor, and the durable blade. For heists that don't require a saw, a grenade launcher could work in the secondary slot if you're careful not to kill hostages or teammates. For cautious or free players, I'd recommend the Bronco, modded with an accuracy boost, or again team boost if you'd prefer, the Ergo wooden grip, the overcompensating barrel, and the slimline body. Again, you could really use any SMG or pistol here and be fine. This build's focus is more about helping others succeed rather than going for the kill yourself. Regardless, you'll still need a way of eliminating targets effectively, and the Bronco is just that. For my melee, I'll be using the electrical brass knuckles to more easily secure hostages, and my throwable will be concussion grenades to stun large groups of enemies without accidentally killing said hostages. Slap on the ICTV and you've got yourself the team player build. I'll showcase the ins and outs of how to use this build after the break. Welcome back. So, how does this build work? Well, before you can even play, you'll want to take note of your equipment. My go-to combo with this build is to bring my doctor bags as the primary equipment with a secondary ammo bag. Be sure not to bring ammo in the primary slot for any reason, as you're getting the exact same amount as you would from the secondary slot regardless. On heists where you want shaped charges, you can bring them in the main or second slot depending on how many charges you need. If the heist expects a saw out of you, don't forget to bring it along. And on certain jobs, you'll be able to buy the expert driver asset, preventing the risk of needing to perform an escape. Once you're in game, the first thing you'll want to do is secure as many hostages as you can. Ensure that you have at least one at all times. 4 hostages is where crew chief's effects cap off, and 8 is where forced friendship reaches its limits. When you're out of civilians to tie down, you can dominate cops instead. An officer at full health is quite difficult to make surrender. However, as soon as they take any damage, there's around a 90% chance their hands will be put up upon being yelled at. Granted, that's a very oversimplified way of explaining it, and there's a whole video about hostages in here somewhere. But all you need to know for now is the best way to dominate cops is hitting them once with your electrical brass knuckles and yelling at them straight away. Try to protect your hostages as best as you can, but don't let it distract you from your main goal, completing the heist quickly and profitably. This is accomplished by sawing and blasting open doors and gates that stand in your way, or failing that, placing and upgrading drills. Everything you could need to know about drills is linked up in the corner. While this is happening, keep an eye out for ATMs, saves, deposit boxes, and any loose cash you can find. Chameleon Ace will grant you a 30% payout bonus for all of this. With the skills and mods on this particular saw, the most efficient way to open deposit boxes is a very quick tap of the fire button. You do not need to hold the trigger down. Some of the more notable heists this build works on are bank jobs and the transport heists. Expert driver, the saw, and shaped charges will speed up these heists dramatically. Speaking of shaped charges, as a result of bringing them, you'll also have access to trip mines, albeit minimally upgraded ones. Still, that doesn't stop them from being used as sensors for special enemies or to dispatch of groups of enemies rather quickly. I talked all about this in another video linked up in the corner. And lastly, your teammates. While this build is designed to improve your chances of survival, it's up to you as a player to act on the chances given to you. The kindest player in the world can still help their team succeed in an otherwise selfish build, and vice versa. So, don't just say you're going to help your team, do it. Inspire them when they're down or even when they aren't to give them a reload and movement speed boost. Keep an eye on the HUD for when a teammate is being tased and try to save them. Drop doctor or ammo bags in cover where your team can best make use of them. Be the player that will take time to slowly carry the heavy bags to the drop-off. While this is all well and good, I can't recommend bringing this build to 1 down. At the end of the day, the best thing you can do for your team on that difficulty is not go into custody. All of the shape charges, saws, and drill skills in the world won't stop you from instantly dying when you turn a corner. For Death Wish and below, however, this build includes everything I could fit into it to make your team succeed. And in the right hands, you can do just that. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.